Whoa, buddy. Put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Dukes Show.
The greed and the entitlement is astounding to me.
What more could you want from a low-budget radio program?
This is a dumpster fire.
That was just BS.
It is time to get a new perspective.
We know just what you need, and we've got just the cure. Open wide and prepare for a steaming hot cup of freedom.
I just don't fathom it.
The Michael Dukes Show, streaming live across the world.
Live around the world on the internet at MichaelDukesShow.com and across the state of Alaska on this, your favorite radio station and or FM translator. Good morning. It is the Michael Dukes Show. Hello, hump day to you. All the all the big stuff going on around the state of Alaska today. Well, are you surprised? Really? Are you really surprised? Are you really surprised with what's going on? No, not really. I'm not really surprised, but disappointed? Yes, very disappointed. Here. We're going to get into that here in just a bit. It is it's a Wednesday, and that means that coming up in hour 2 of the big radio broadcast this morning, we're going to be talking with State Senator Mike Shower, who's going to come on board. And I don't know, we're just going to talk about some of the things that are happening in the Senate and in the legislature as a whole. It should be a fun discussion. It should be a fun discussion here in hour 2. In hour 1, well, it's just going to be me and you. And I haven't even turned on the phone lines yet because I don't even know if I want to talk just don't even know if I want to talk to people about this yet. But it is it's going to be interesting to go over some of the headlines, including the latest one out of Juneau, which just shows that yet again, politicians cannot be trusted. I won't say that I'm surprised, but I am disappointed about what's going on. And we'll get into that here in, we'll get into that here in just a little bit. So we'll be talking about that and going over some of the other headlines that are going on out there, including what's happening in the schools, the public testimony opportunities, what's happening. I mean, some of the kind of the craziness that's going on down in Anchorage at the school districts. Like, what's going on? What exactly is happening there? And we'll talk about that and more here this morning. But I don't know if I want to classify it as the betrayal by the governor as much as I may want to well, maybe it is. I mean, you'll have to tell me whether you think it's a betrayal by the governor or not. I mean, I kind of get the feeling that, I've kind of get the feeling that a little bamboozling was going on. Just a little bit of bamboozling. I mean, one of the things that we said, I don't want to get into that. Let me get to some of the other headlines first. I don't want to get ahead of myself because if I get on that, it'll be the whole hour I'll be ranting about this. So there are other stories and headlines that I want to get to. But first things first, I guess I should say thank you first and foremost to members of the Common Sense Corps who help bring the show to you each and every day. They are integral to making sure that we stay on the cutting edge of technology and do all the stuff that we need to do to stay on the air and stay on the simulcast on Facebook and YouTube. So special thanks to members of the Common Sense Corps who are all part of it. Thank you, people. Thank you very much. You can become a member if you'd like, or find out about the benefits of it by going to michaeldukeshow.com and clicking on Join the Corps. That's what that's all about. Just go over there and do it. But now I guess we should tell you about the phone lines. Phone lines are now open at 907-433-3150, 907-433-3150. And that also reminds us that today's program is brought to you by your friends at Satellite West. You can find them at satellitewest.com, from Delta to Diomede, from Kamchatka to Ketchikan, from Ukhtavik to Uzinki. There you go. Satellite West will keep you connected no matter where you are in the state of Alaska. They've got the talent and the tools and the technology so that you could send text messages or emails or surf the internet or make phone calls from anywhere in the state. Find out more and find out about their local dealers at satellitewest.com. Thank you for sponsoring the program, to Harold and the whole crew over there at Satellite West. Okay. So let's get into some of these stories. Let's get started. First and foremost, this is a story out of Anchorage, and every time I see another story about, there's all these stories about schools, right? So first, we've got the story about the Mat-Su School District, where they are reviewing book fairs and library collections and everything else about concerns about sexually explicit volumes. Now, we don't, it's, what was the old, I can't remember which Supreme Court justice it was when they were talking about pornography, but he was basically like, I'll know it when I see it kind of thing. You know it when you see it, that kind of conversation, which is, yeah, you kind of know it when you see it. And you kind of know when some of this stuff is pornographic when they refuse to allow parents, or in some cases, board members, to actually read portions of these books into the records, right? When you're embarrassed, when you're an adult sitting in a room with other adults at a school board meeting, and you are embarrassed by what's being read into the record, that should give you pause. Because that's what's happening. They got that it's happened across the country. It's not just here in Alaska, but it's happened right here in Alaska too, where they basically shut down one of the board. I think it was one of the board members in Fairbanks got shut down because he was reading into the record from a book that was available at a local school library. Well, that's uncomfortable, right? I am not one to ban books, right? If you want to have, I don't care what books are at a local library where discerning adults can go in and do it. But we're talking about school libraries inside of schools. That's a whole different deal than a public library. If you want to have Mein Kampf, a copy of Mein Kampf in the local library, I'm all for it. You want to have, the works of Marx. You want to have, Erica Jong or, some other, whoever. It doesn't matter to me. In a local library, because people, the freedom of expression, they need to be able to read even things I vehemently disagree with. They should still be available if people want to go read them, because that's what it. But we're talking about libraries inside of. Stop getting all high and mighty about, Paul, you just want to ban books. No, I don't want to ban books. If those books are available in a local library, that's one thing. But libraries that are inside of schools where students can just go without their parental supervision and everything else, and you're going to put explicit material in there? Hey, look, I was a teenage boy once, right? Hey, look at this. A little bit of smutty pornography, I'm all for it. Let's go. And it's, graphic novels and all this. No. So first you got this story. right? And Matsu is now reevaluating books available at their libraries and their school book fairs. And this is in part all due to the fact that there's been a lot of public backlash about this because people are starting to discover what's going on in the libraries, in their schools. I don't think it's unreasonable. I really don't. If you are all outraged and you're you've got your parents or an LGBTQ supporter or whatever, if you are all outraged, buy them a book yourself. Okay? And give that to them. But it should not be available to all students at all times. And again, there's got to be some, here's what they're trying to do. They're trying to strip away parental involvement. They want you to park your kids in school and just go hands off and let them shape and mold the future generation. That's what they want. Which is why I refuse to send my kids to public school and have for 25 years. And that's why I have encouraged you as parents to take a hard look at this and decide if that is worth it. Because the whole intent, if you take a step back from this and look at this, it's very obvious, and has been very obvious to me for a long time, that the whole intent is for you to turn your children over to the government, however you want to look at that, and allow them to mold them into the citizens that the government needs. And I know there's people out there like, I just can't homeschool that. Well, homeschooling is not the only answer. You've got learning pods, you've got Montessori, you've got, teacher share programs, you got all different. Find a way. Just find a way. Don't turn your kids over to the Romans because they will come back as Romans. So there's that. That if you needed another reason why maybe you should consider not sending your kids to the mainstream schools, brick and mortar schools, that's it. Then you got this story out of Anchorage, which just really piqued my interest. Like, what? Clark Middle School. So a middle school, junior high school. When I was raised, we called them junior high schools. Now they're middle schools. And I think now they include 6th, 7th, and 8th grade instead of just 7th and 8th grade, if I'm not mistaken. Again, my kids aren't in public school, so I don't know. You'll have to correct me if I'm wrong. Clark Middle School in Anchorage was placed on lockdown yesterday after an intrusion of several teenagers escalated a student fight into a brawl that had students trapped inside of an office. Oh, what? So this started out as a fight inside the school between two students. One of the students was put inside of an office. Then 3 other juveniles arrived from outside the school to join the side of one of the fighters, the one that apparently wasn't in the office, because the 4 then began to take extreme measures to seek entry into the administrative office where one of the original students who was involved in the fight was located. So APD said one student was in the administrative office and the other student, along with 3 high school aged juveniles. So you've got junior highs, middle schoolers, and you've got 3 high schoolers who are now forcefully attempting to break windows and doors to gain entry into the administrative offices. An SRO, a school resource, a police officer who's stationed in the school and assigned to Clark, attempted to restore order. While calling for backup, one of the students attacked the police officer. One of the juveniles struck the SRO in the face while another began throwing items at the glass windows while ignoring commands. He eventually deployed his taser to prevent forced entry to the office, and 10 officers responded. 10 officers. And they were able to finally remove all of the juveniles. One of them was treated for pepper spray exposure. One was treated in relation to taser deployment, yada, yada, yada. What is this? West Side Story? I mean, we're all going to start breaking it. What were you going to do? They were so hell-bent on they literally attacked a police officer, throwing glass. This is where you want to send your kids to school? This is what we're fighting for in the legislature. Let's make sure we get them more base student allocation. That'll be sure to get us. I'm sure it'll be used for education. I'm sure it'll be fine. Don't worry about it. It's insane. And yes, I keep using the word molding. They are molding those. What did Limbaugh used to say? Molding the minds full of mush. You are literally grooming children to be just perfect little subjects, making them government dependent and believing that all this, I got to tell you right now, I just got to tell you right now, if you do not pull your kids out of public school, you're making a huge mistake. You are making a huge mistake. And I believe that your priorities are wrong. I believe your priorities are wrong and incorrect. And I know people are going to scream at me because, well, not everybody is single parent and do it. You can find, if you care enough, you can find a way. Because sending your kids to the public schools right now, based on just those 2 stories alone, your priorities are messed up. If you are not prioritizing getting your kids into a different learning system of some kind, homeschool, pandemic pod, learning pod, whatever they call them, teacher share program, Montessori, whatever it is, it's going to be better than what they're going through right now. It's going to be better. All right. So that's my start. That's my start for today. Whew. We'll be back with more. Don't go anywhere. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. We'll return with more. Mike Shower in hour 2, right after this.
What is that?
Common sense. Regularly heard on American radio. Michael Duke Show. Radio.
I get so agitated by the high and mighty people that, oh, you're just for burning books and you're just for, oh, man, you're just for. No, I'm not. I'm not. If adults want to fill their mind with ideas that are what I consider to be wrong-headed, that is their right to do. I mean, they should do that. That's all fine. But to put these in a library and just let kids run amok, and then not just that, but to encourage them, because that's what we're seeing. We're seeing this encouragement. Folks, this is insidious. When they are inserting these kind of books and writings into the libraries and young children, and they're putting it front and center, and they're talking about gender identity and things to kids who are 8 and 9 years old who don't know stuff from stuff, right? Who don't know from Shinola. That's the problem. Because they get confused. Jerica just said something. She says, I know an 11-year-old that is having severe issues with sexual development due to be exposed to materials like this. When 11-year-old boys are getting oral sex at a church camp and then developing a porn addiction, we have a serious freaking problem. Yes. Yes, we do. And then we get those little blurbs like we read the other day where out of one of these books where they said, oh, porn is a little sugary sweet that you can, but you need to think. I mean, this is what it's sick. It's sick. And it's working as intended. It really is. It's the breakdown of morality. You want to talk about the destruction of the family unit. We have allowed them to break down the family unit by purposefully shipping our kids off 6, 7, 8 hours a day to a government-run education camp. And then we're shocked, I tell you, that the family unit is broken down. Yeah, duh. Working as intended. Okay. I'm going back through some of the things. Alaska grand jury investigation sit-in at the Nesbitt courthouse at 8 a.m. today. See y'all there. There's something good you guys should be talking about today. Coffee. Stuart Potter. Sometimes I hate it when I don't know what this is. Friedman, Hayek, and Rand. National Geographic. All right. I'm way behind on the comments. Way behind on the comments here. Pull all your kids out of the schools, de facto school cuts, no kids, no money. That's 100% true. Let's see. 2 stories. I've read at least 6 in the last week. Bartlett, Diamond, Clark, Service, Tanana. There's one more that I'm forgetting the name of. Some serious stuff happened to these schools or come out of the staff schools and less. I mean, again, you're right. Those are just the 2 stories from today. That doesn't have anything to do with the BDSM teacher and principal and all the texting and all the other stuff that's going on. I mean, yeah. Yeah. Okay. We got to go. We got to go. The Michael Duke Show. We got one line on hold. I just see somebody just joined, so we won't be able to get their name before we return. But caller, just hold the line. I'll be to you here in just a second. Just a second. Like and share, like and follow. Let's go. Here we go. All right, welcome back to the program, The Michael Duke Show. And somebody just made a comment and said, I was just talking about these 2 stories that I'm just reading today. And Jerica in the chat room made a Clark High School, where the teacher was having an affair with one of the other, some kind of BDSM weird, kind of, and the same thing was going on at Tanana Middle School and Bart. I mean, yes. Why do I have to go through the litany of things that are going on to discuss these things? No. I mean, that's just in the last 2 weeks. I just don't know what to say. All right, we got one line on hold, and so we'll go over there to take some phone calls before I get on to some of these other stories. And but feel free if you want to call in and tell me how right or wrong I am. I'm all about that. I'll take that as a yeah. Let's go over here, see what you have to say. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Kelly Nash from Fairbanks. How are you?
Good morning, Kelly. What's on your mind?
Oh, so much. There's a feedback, though, so I can hear myself echo.
And now you can't.
Let's see. No, I think we're good. Okay, so I think for myself, prior to the pandemic, I was always super involved in, my kids' school, classroom, etc., anything that was going on. And then when we had to have our kids home and with the Chromebooks and everything, and I think that's when a lot of us really woke up. Right now, I'm a single mom, and I have a business, and I'm not a teacher, but I can be, and I was. I know that there's people in the Wasilla area that have pods for homeschooling. I haven't found any pods here in the Fairbanks area for my daughter, who's a freshman at West Valley. I also formed Interior Patriots, and I literally get calls, text messages, emails, messenger messages. I mean, so often that I think people think that I'm on the school board. Our schools are absolutely disgusting. My daughter is at West Valley High School, and she FaceTimed me one day, and the teacher was wearing a robe that was the colors of the transgender flag with a sash on, and that had all these patches on it. And constitutionally, they can't tell him that he can't wear that. So I screamed and yelled about it. I thought it was very inappropriate. I thought that, just the students have a dress code, teachers should have a dress code. Well, move forward a little bit. I called it out that he was a weirdo. Next thing I know, I find out that he was over at Randy Smith Middle School, and he told some 8th grader that she had a nice figure. This teacher is this is a substitute teacher, and without even a teaching degree, he's still wandering around here. And then the whole Tanana Middle School thing, that wasn't just one female teacher. There was the husband of that teacher that was involved in it also. Out at North Pole High School during, when there was, social distancing and everyone was still at school, I had a teacher tell me that she, watched a kid almost die from a seizure and no one would help him. And, blowjobs underneath the staircases. The schools are absolutely a wreck. They really are. Where I'm at, though, being a single mom and having a business and not knowing where to, put my kid in a pod, like, how do I do this? Because trust me, I want to pull her out so bad.
Well, here's what my
here's what my
recommendation is. You connected with a lot of people. I mean, you started this Interior Patriots thing, which is a good thing. Don't get me wrong there. Connect with those people. Find somebody in there who has an educational background. Put it out to your group of friends. Put it out to your group of people that you have influence over and find out. Or enroll them in some kind of homeschooling program and do it at night, if that's what it takes. I know one parent that was a single parent that decided that she had had enough of what was going on. And so she had kids that were older, that were in their mid-teens. And so she decided that she was still going to work her job, and she gave her kids, chores and things to do throughout the day. And then when she got home, she sat down and she did 2 or 3 hours of schooling with them through a homeschooling program. She convinced the homeschooling program that she could handle it, and she did. And she, 2 or 3 hours a night, that's what it looked like. The kids' school was at night. She said sometimes they'd get up early on some days, and they'd get up early before she had to go to work and do some work and then do it. And then they had the rest of the day because she could trust them at least to be there. And if you've got a high schooler, you should be able to trust a high schooler to do that kind of stuff. You have to think outside the box. You have to be, you have to be flexible to be able to do that. But there are homeschooling programs out there that will build the whole thing for you, and they could do their school throughout the day. And all you have to do is come back and answer questions or check work or do whatever, especially if they're in high school. I trusted my kids when they went to high school. We just put the programs together and we would check at the end of the day. And if they had questions, they could come see my wife or whatever. But usually they were just doing what they did. They did their work in their rooms. They got it all done. They came down. They did whatever they did. This is, you can find a way is what I'm saying.
because yeah, you're right. I mean, every day I wake up and, it's just, I'm like, what the heck is going to happen now? I'm, I'm talking to the principal of the school every day. The people at the school know me, like I am in there all the time, and I mean, there's, yeah, I'm so over it, and so are so many other parents. So you know what? I never even thought about doing it at night. I don't know why, probably because just with. Okay, you know what? Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and let me say this, Kelly, and Kelly, let me
and I'm
say,
gonna help other people do it too.
You're right, Kelly. So, but let me say this as well, and I don't mean this as a slight to you because I know you've done a lot of good work in the interior. But let me ask you this. What's more important in the long run? Is it important to do something like, for example, Interior Patriots and all the time and effort you put into that? Or is it more important to put that effort? Would it be, if you had to balance it out and you had to have just one or the other, would it be more important to educate and take care of your...
My child is always at the top of the
See,
list.
that's what I'm saying. And again, I applaud what you've done, but again, people just have to reprioritize in their mind. What is more important here? Trying to help everybody else and change the world, or fix my kids?
Well, and on the side of that, though, too, with everything that I have done, she's been learning this along the way, so that when she sees something that she knows is not okay, or she hears something that she knows is not okay, she'll stand up and she'll say something, and she will also tell me what's going on as well.
Well, and that's great.
And
that's,
so, I mean,
well,
good.
And look, that's great. That is 100%. I mean, that is 100% great. The problem is that your daughter is probably more of an anomaly than most because she has been taught right and will stand up. There are many kids out there who go there and they just go, well, mom and dad told me to pay attention and trust what the teacher said. And so and then you come back and you can't figure out why your kids are so different when they come out of high school or they go to college and they do this kind of stuff. It's got to stop, Kelly. It's got to stop. It
has to.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Well, thank you, Kelly.
Those books that you're talking about, when Matt Sampson, can I say one more thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
When Matt Sampson was on our school board, he went around, he was pulling some of the books out of the library, and at one of the school board meetings, he sat there and he started reading one of the paragraphs in the book. And the president of the school board, she got really uncomfortable and wanted him to stop reading. But yet these books are in the school. Like, we sat there and watched the same thing that happened in Anchorage,
Right.
And then we find out that it wasn't people in the school that were picking these books. It was parents that sit on these committees.
Right.
And so, but we've been trying to place people on these committees because any parent, if you get in there, you gotta, I mean, that's the thing though too, is you can get some whack job in there, so.
Well, again, or people with an agenda.
Mike, thank you so much for.
Or people with an agenda, Kelly. That's the problem, is that they're not just whack jobs. It's working as intended. I'll be honest with you. It's working as intended. That's what they're trying to do. Thank you for your call. Let's go over here. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Dustin from Fairbanks.
Hello, Dustin. What's on your
mind? Morning.
I
haven't listened to you. Yeah, I haven't listened to you in a while. I admit I've kind of tried to go away from the negative, not negative, but just the depressing news of everything.
Sure.
And this morning I started listening to this homeschooling thing, and just to talk about this again and give the last caller some hope. We had an experience where we spent the money and put our kid in private school, and he came home very frustrated, very upset. He's already kind of a quiet kid. And later find out he had a boy at school that would be holding his hand and kissing him, telling him that they're two dads, making him play family every day. And he's only 6 years old. And, we have strong Christian values, conservative, and we would spend the nights trying to figure out why he's so upset, why he's agitated with us, and then try to teach him that's not what we believe. That's not how God intended it to be.
Right.
And I would pop in and on parent days, and I would witness this on the playground. And where's the teachers? And we're paying tens of thousands of dollars sending them to private school. Where's the teachers in this? And so we did homeschooling, and he's done in like 3 to 4 hours. He doesn't learn with the herd. He's 7 years old now, and he's reading junior high level books.
Right. Exactly. I mean, it can be done, right, Justin? I mean, that's what it is. I mean, it can be done. You find a way. Find a way.
You got to find a way. Like you mentioned, do it at night. Like we're small business owners. My wife works at home, and we're fortunate we can do this. But she says he's done with reading, writing, arithmetic, your most important values, right, in 3 to 4 hours. And
right.
He's playing the rest of the day.
Yeah.
And he's a whole new kid again.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
And I talk to 30 to 40 people a day individually here in Fairbanks, and there's a lot of really frustrated people that, just like Kelly, last caller, they want out, but they can't financially.
Right.
They struggle to find the way to do that.
I recommend going to a program like IDEA, the Interior Distance Education Association there in Fairbanks or in Anchorage or in Wasilla. They will work with you. They will help you. And you're right. My high schooler, my oldest son who graduated from high school 2 or 3 years ago, at the end, in the last 2 years of school, he was done with his school within 2 to 3 hours every day. That was a full load. He would actually just blaze through it because I told him, once you get the school done, and he got good marks, he got high marks. I said, once you get the work done, you have the rest of the day to yourself. You can do whatever you want to do your chores, you're done. The rest of the day is yours. When he discovered that kid was getting up at 7 o'clock in the morning on his own, burning out the school by 10 a.m. and having the rest of the day to do whatever he wanted to do. He did not have to learn with a herd, like you said. That's a prime reason there.
Exactly. Yeah, this herd learning, and we're watching our kid. We'll see his light on at 11 o'clock at night. Walk in there, and he is reading a book, literally a newer, updated encyclopedia about different animals.
Right.
And the kid is just ignited, and he wouldn't have gotten that in public school system.
No,
he would have been right with the herd and would not have excelled.
It develops the love of. If you can develop the love of learning in a child, you've done the job. Pretty much everything else handles itself. If you can develop that love of learning, Dustin. Thank you for your call. I'm sorry. I'm up against the break. I got to go. We're going to be back. I got more lines on hold. Thank you, Dustin, for your call. We'll continue the Michael Duke Show, Common Sense Radio. Back with more after this.
Running on 100% pure beard power. Oh, also some coffee. We dip our beard in coffee.
Ha, nice beard.
The Michael Duke Show.
Okay, let me go over here and get caught up. Jerica said, I've heard of some homeschooling co-ops that the parents all team up and tag team homeschooling all their kids together. I'm looking for a tutor, private teacher to school my kids and nephews. We tried literally everything else out there for schooling, all the different homeschools, including putting up the public schools. I determined that I'm not a teacher, but I refuse to send my kids to public school another year. You don't have to be a teacher. My wife, she hates it when I bring this up, and I do occasionally. My wife never graduated from high school. My wife is one of the smartest women I know, but had some challenges in her senior year, end of her junior, beginning of her senior year of high school, and never graduated high school. And she's homeschooled 5 kids who are some of the most intelligent kids you'll find out there. Not due to me, right? She did it. You don't have to be a teacher. And I keep going back to IDEA because we put 5 kids through the IDEA program. My son is going to graduate this year, my youngest son, and he is the 5th of 5 children that we have put through the he's the 5th of 5 children we put through the system. You have a contact teacher that's there to help you. They have learning programs that are basically built, some of them, like for some students, they require different types of learning. But for like our son, we had all the programs were online. He could go, he could log in, he could look at it, he could watch the videos, he could do the interactivity stuff, he could read, he could answer the questions, he could do all the work, all of that stuff. It's all right there. You don't have to be a teacher to be a homeschooler. All you have to do is care about your children. It's all you have to do. If you can instill in them a love of learning, there's something that was called unit education. Is that what I'm trying to think of? That's the phrase that I'm looking for. Unit studies. That was it. And what you did is you found something that the kid was excited about. Say octopuses. Kid loved octopuses. And you built a whole program on a semester or whatever around octopuses, right? So you could build math around it, 8, you got octopuses. You could build life sciences, reproductive stuff. You could build, biology and chemistry and, everything, even literature, You could build it all around their love of this one topic. And they just ate it up. Unit studies is an amazing way because you've taught the kid the love of learning. It's not just rote. It's not just you got to go. I never did well in math in school. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I'm more left brain. I can do math. I can do the hell out of math. I just never really had an interest in it. They never engaged me. I remember I was in advanced English and some other things because I'm a reader and I'm a good reader and writer. And I remember the teacher saying, "You're not getting a good grade." And I'm like, well, it was all because I wasn't being engaged because I was faster in that than everybody else. And I was bored. Get out of the herd learning mentality. That's what you need to do. Engage those kids on a one-on-one basis, man. Let me just put it this way. You are sacrificing your child on the altar of essentially big government. Government as the answer, progressive ideas and things like that, because that's all that's in most of these schools these days. It's insane. 2 lines on hold. Let me go over here and see if I can get some names. How about that? This caller first. Good morning, caller. Who are you and where are you calling from?
Hey, good morning, Michael. David Boyle calling from Anchorage.
Hey, David, would you hold the line, please? You'll be number 1 in the queue when we come back to you here. So hold the line. We'll go over to number 2. Good morning, caller. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Randy in Fairbanks.
All right, Randy, you hold the line. I'll be right back to you. Okay, don't go anywhere. You're number 2 right after David. Okay. We're about 40 seconds out. Let me see. That's brilliant, says Jeannie. I'm not sure what she said was brilliant, but I don't know what that means exactly. We used to be able to do unit studies in the classroom, but our hands are tied and we are micromanaged. Maybe I need a career change in tutoring. Kim, that would be brilliant. Why don't you hire yourself out as a private teacher? Why don't you hire yourself out as a pod learning teacher? There are people out there who are looking for that. Why? You got the certification, you got all the stuff. You want to do unit study? You could take only 10 students and do what you want. Yes, maybe you need a career change. The Michael Duke Show.
Public enema number 1. Oh, wait, sorry. Enemy. Public enemy number 1, which makes more sense. On the other hand, he's a little bit of a pain in the Michael Duke Show.
Wow, this is not how I was expecting this first hour to go. I'll be honest with you. Lots of reactions in the chat room. Lots of folks calling in this morning. David Boyle is on the line from Anchorage. He wanted to sound off this morning. We got a couple other lines on hold. Let's go over to David. Good morning, David. What's on your mind?
Hey, good morning, Michael. Did you say you weren't very good at math?
I am not the best. Well, in school, I wasn't the best at math. I can do basic math and even some algebra, but beyond that, I just didn't have an interest, I guess, is what I should have said. It just wasn't something that really piqued my imagination.
Well, in that case, you sound very well qualified to be either on House Finance or Senate Finance.
This is true. This is not, yeah, that's exactly right.
Anyway, I wanted to talk about Senate Bill 52, which is Senator Luki Umlaut Token's bill to increase the BSA by $1,000 per student. But they're working magic here. The fact of the matter is, it's not going to increase per student spending by $1,000. You run that $1,000 through that foundation formula, and it comes out to about $2,400 per student is what the increase will be, over 30%.
This is based on the numbers of, again, running it through this is how the 44,000 students in the Anchorage School District get funded, as if they're 72,000, right? Something like that.
That's correct. And yeah, there's about a little over 128,000 students in K-12 public schools in Alaska. But when you run it through that sausage grinder called the foundation formula, it ends up a little over double, about 258,000 students. So what they do is they take that 258,000 students times the $1,000. But what you do, so you get $258 million is the increase that they're asking for. But then you have to divide that by the actual number of students, and it comes out to about a little over $2,000 per actual student. However, the other thing you have to do in the formula, remember they're all multiplied. The only one that's not multiplied are the correspondence students. So you have to back those out because they only get 90% of the base BSA, which is today $5,960. So you end up, when you back those correspondence students out, you actually get about $2,400 per student increase.
Well, I gotta tell you, that is not surprising. Again, this is all about the money. Don't forget the hold harmless thing, by the way. We start pulling kids out of school and all this other kind of stuff. It's all basically working as intended, David. More money for the schools with less ways to pull money back, and that's just what it's all. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about at this point.
Yeah, and that. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
And the other thing is the foundation formula for funding K-12 education is really broken. There's so many faults in it. For example, the special needs factor that includes vocational tech education, which is in and of itself a separate factor of 1.015. The special needs factor is 1.2, which includes vocational tech, the special needs kids, and the English language learners. Now, here's an interesting fact. In the Anchorage School District, 58% of those children that are designated English language learners, their primary language at home is, guess what? English. So there's a little bit of fraud going on here, at least in the Anchorage School District.
Well, David, you're making my points for me, my friend. You're making my points for me. I got to let you go. I appreciate it. I got more calls on hold. Thank you for being part of the program this morning.
Thank you, Michael.
And sounding off. Let's go over here. Randy is up in Fairbanks. Randy, what's on your mind this morning?
Hi there, Michael. This is Randy in Fairbanks. I just wanted to report to you that yesterday I engaged in the public testimony on House Bill 99, which is the LGBT anti-discrimination bill that they're trying to get through. They were discussing it in that committee and taking public testimony. And I called it a sneaky bill. And the reason I call it a sneaky bill, and I said so in my testimony, is because it appears to do a very serpentine, sneaky approach. And I actually printed out the bill. I have it in my hand here. And it's a, quote, an act relating to and prohibiting discrimination based on sexual orientation or gender identity or expression. Now that part's honest enough, it's straightforward. But what it actually does is it goes to Section AS, Alaska statute that is, 18.80.300. And I'm not sure what exactly language precedes that, but it amends it. It makes a little tiny little change in the bill. And what this paragraph here is about is called blockbusting. And it's like a list of definitions within the statute. Blockbusting means an unlawful discriminatory practice by a real estate broker, real estate salesperson, blah, 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 benefit financially to represent directly. Anyway, it goes on and kind of glaze your eyes over reading it. Will or may occur that a change has occurred or will or may occur from a composition with respect to race, religion, sex, color, or national origin of the owners or occupants of a block, neighborhood, or anyway, it goes on there. And it makes a tiny little change there. But here's where the actual change of significance comes in. In the next section of that, it has some little more definitions, and it said what is sneaky about it is it's trying to change the definition of sex. Instead of coming right out and putting as a new category in the daylight and saying not only can you not discriminate in employment and all these other fields, you can't. This includes sexual orientation, gender identity, and gender expression. What they do is in the list of definitions, they redefine sex, and it says, quote, sex includes sexual orientation and gender identity or expression. And my feeling is that anywhere in the old statute books, wherever it says sex, it's gonna take on a new meaning. And I said in my testimony that in the 1964 Civil Rights Act, sex simply meant man or woman. In other words, gender. It didn't pertain to somebody's personal preferences in the bedroom. It had nothing to do with that.
Right.
But they want to change the whole meaning, which will be like a time bomb.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, and I think you and I have discussed this before, and I agree with you. I think that's one of the more problematic aspects of this is, again, trying to redefine what the whole sex thing means, but also the fact that that all these things that they're trying to talk about in these bills are already covered by other federal laws. We already have other laws against discrimination and everything else, especially in housing and things like that. This is an end run around. That's what this is about. This is an end run around. And I agree with you, Randy. Sneaky is the word that I would use as well. I appreciate your call. Thank you so much. We are up against the break. I didn't even get to my story about the governor. Wow. That's okay. That's okay. We're going to get to it hopefully here. Waiting on State Senator Mike Shower to join us in hour 2. We look forward to talking to you then. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Be kind, love one another, live well. Hour 2, dead ahead. Man, I didn't mean to get so worked up, but the more I thought about it and the deeper I got, I think people have to take, because I've had people here in the chat room but take issue with me when I said that everybody should take their children's education in hand and do it themselves. And they're just like, well, I can't, I won't, I couldn't do that. There are ways to do it. And if you aren't willing to work through those ways, I don't mean to be harsh, but how much are you valuing your children if something else is more important? We're talking about 2 or 3 hours a day that you could do with the help of programs like IDEA and Cyberlinks and Raven and all these other different types of things. There are systems out there for you to do this. And by the way, if you can instill that love of learning, the kids will do them. They will teach themselves most of the time. You're there just to guide them and to provide them the information and to answer basic questions. This is not rocket surgery. Or you could send them to school where they, as Dustin said, had other, kids of the same gender hold their hands and tell them that and confuse them about their sexuality and their beliefs. Or you could do that. I refuse to sacrifice my children on the altar of ideology or to put them in the crossfire as we fight this battle. I'm not saying you give up. It's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying we give up on fighting the battle. I'm just saying that while we're battling it out, you don't throw your kids in the middle into no man's land in between the two sides and let them get riddled full of proverbial bullets on the way through this. Anyway, there we go. Bill says, you could talk about the governor when Dozer sleeps in. Well, I guess we'll see what's going on here. I guess we'll see what happens. I mean, it wasn't just me, right? Last week he told me he was going to be here this week, right? I mean, right? Okay. David is, of course, correct. Says Donna. Correspondence program children get a fraction of the dollars for each correspondence child, and the school district gets they get like what? Most school districts are averaging 1.5 or something, 1.7 depending on the district, and homeschoolers get 0.8 or 0.9. So they get a fraction of the money, but again, they have the fraction of the overhead too. I mean, it kind of evens out in one way, but yeah, yeah. IDEA is having fair dates. IDEA curriculum fairs, pre-fair virtual workshops. You can do it online. Soldotna, May 2-3, Anchorage, May 4-5, Fairbanks, May 8-9, Juneau, May 11th. Where's the Matsu? Where's the Matsu? Is there no curriculum fair in the Matsu, Sandy? I'm still going through this here. I'm still going back. I missed a lot of comments today. I'll be honest with you. I missed a lot of comments. Rick says, Kim, you may have just started something you didn't see coming, a small in-home school. This is from Kim, who was like asking, should I change the jobs? Maybe I need a career in tutoring. Yes, Kim. Why? I mean, why not? There were actual stories in the 80N here, and I think I actually briefly went over it, but there were several teachers who, after the pandemic and everything else, it was just so miserable that they actually went out and started their own. One of them was a kindergarten teacher that started a learning preschool or something. And I mean, yes, Kim, we need to get good teachers. We need to get good teachers out of the public school system and get them starting their own deal. That's what we need. That's what we need. Okay. Yeah, Khan Academy. Khan Academy is another great resource. Math Doesn't Suck. That's another one. There's another program. Math Made Easy is another one. I mean, there's all different kinds of resources out there. You don't even need a homeschooling system. It's easier that way, but there are so many free learning systems out there right now. You could just, yeah. The folks who are anti-homeschooling should be thrilled that those icky conservative kids who aren't tolerant or diverse enough aren't breathing air in the government schools. Yes. 100%. Yeah. All right. Oh, hey, look. Just looked in the green room. I see someone in the green room. Hey, what's up?
Me.
Hey, what?
Because of your program.
You've been listening this morning?
Freaking early, man.
Man, I got a little wound up this morning inadvertently. Sometimes that happens. I got a little inadvertently wound up. All right, don't go anywhere, buddy. Hold the line. We're going to be right back to you. The Michael Duke Show, Common Sense Radio.
Whoa, buddy. Put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Dukes Show.
The greed and the entitlement is astounding to me.
What more could you want from a low-budget radio program?
This is a dumpster fire.
That's just BS.
It is time to get a new perspective.
We know just what you need, and we've got just the cure. Open wide and prepare for a steaming hot cup of freedom.
I just don't fathom it.
The Michael Dukes Show, streaming live across the world.
All around the world on the internet at MichaelDukesShow.com and across the state of Alaska on this, your favorite radio station and or FM translator. It is the Michael Duke Show. Good morning and hi, how are you?
Goodbye.
Goodbye. We got hour 2 right now. We just finished up. I was trying to get through the headlines, but I only got to 2, and then I exploded, and then the whole the call started, and folks, it was a bad one. Last hour, a little bit ranty, but people were agreeing with me, so apparently I touched a nerve somewhere on that. We might talk about that with State Senator Mike Shower, who's up next. I know I want to talk with Senator Shower about the news that came out yesterday with the meetings with the governor. I want to talk with him about that. He joins us right now to say hi and good morning. So let's say hi and good. I can't unmute my guests because they chose to mute themselves. Hello, sir. How are you?
I never even touched it. I don't know what happened. The hatch just flew.
It just happened. Good morning, my friend. How are you doing? What's happening?
Well, I'm still in Juneau, and nothing's changed. Would that surprise you?
No, not really. I mean, this is the Einstein SSDD, right? I mean, it's just kind of the same definition of insanity over and over and over again, expecting different results, but it's not going to happen. I got some things I want to talk to you about today, my friend, and I'm going to start off with a story which I should have gotten to last hour, but I didn't because we started talking about schools. And you said you listened to a little bit of it in the last hour. I mean,
might have picked up a piece or two of something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I guess I should ask you this. Am I wrong? I mean, should we be sacrificing our children on the altar of public education to all the vagaries of, the diversity and equity, the ESG, the other stuff? I mean, or should we be looking at our children as our most valuable commodity and saying, whatever I have to sacrifice to teach you myself was probably a good idea?
They had a guy last summer, or maybe it was even 2018. I think it was 2018. I know this will sound weird at first, but bear with me for a moment. So we were just, running through neighborhoods, campaigning, meeting people, doing the thing. And this guy, he was clearly a veteran when I walked up. I mean, nice sunny day, middle of summertime, somewhere up in the valley. I can't remember the exact place, but he's a big dude, almost looked like a Pacific Islander. Those are big boys, like the rugby player types and stuff. But he had on like the veteran shirt. I think it was Army. Walked up and started talking, hey, veteran as well, just running for office. And he's like, oh, yeah, I've heard your name. And he's like, I got a question for you. That's what he said first. And he's like, what's our most valuable resource? And I think he was expecting the standard answer up here in Alaska. Oh, well, oil, the permanent film, whatever. Without even hesitating, I said, our people. He's like, you got my votes and my 9 family members. He's like, nobody ever says that. I make the point, Mike, that to say this, to agree with you, what is our most valuable resource? I mean, these things we're talking about of, natural resources, oil, logging, minerals, whatever, all important, but it doesn't mean much if you don't have people. And it doesn't mean much if your people leave this state because it's a terrible place to live, because taxes are coming, because government's too big, because there's not good jobs. They even talked about the education system. I think we said that a week or two ago. We can have the best education system in the world, pour a ton of money to it. What's the point of even having that if all the kids are going to leave after going through it because there aren't any jobs? Because the only good job you're going to have left in this place is the state, because this government and this legislature are focused on increasing government. That's what they're doing, Mike. I've told you the thing. This is a tax and spend legislature. The only conversations I'm seeing, how we're going to tax and raise money and spend it. Or let's put that in reverse order, how much we're going to spend and how we're going to find the money to pay for it.
Right.
Not one conversation about reducing the cost of government anywhere, besides maybe from the Senate minority and some members in the House. I haven't heard any conversations at all, Mike. Nothing on reductions. Everything is how are we going to raise more money to pay for all the stuff we want to spend it on. That's literally the conversation. It's all about money, money, money. How do we get more of it to spend it? That's it. That is the conversation taking place in Juneau. This whole thing about, maybe maybe the governor is going to, do some vetoes or some line item vetoes, perhaps. I know I've heard him talk about it, but nowhere in the legislature is anybody talking about how we're going to reduce the cost of government. Senator Hughes has the Sunset Commission that other states are using. We've been talking about that for a couple of years now, that brings in outside auditors and has an agency with authority to start killing programs and looking at stuff when they're no longer useful or drive efficiencies. But I don't know, Mike.
Well,
that's off the topic a little bit, but it goes back to the point of the funding, because you're getting there, right? About spending money on it. And look, man, it's an unfair question to me, because Michelle and I homeschooled our kids for a good portion of their education. Why? We saw garbage from the curriculum. We saw garbage in the schools. We saw gangs and terrible culture, all kinds of things we didn't want our kids exposed to. And so if you want to talk about homeschooling options, about magnet schools, you want to talk about backpack funding for the kids so parents and schools and kids have options, well, I would prefer that, brother. So I'm not going to be the guy that's going to be telling you, well, every kid needs to go into the public school system and be twisted upside down with indoctrination of all kinds of garbage and have to put up with that stuff. No, I don't agree with that.
Well, let me tell you why. We're not surprised that the legislature as a whole, especially even amongst a lot of these newer members, is all about the spending. Why? Because most of them are products of the public school system, where they are told day in and day out. First of all, they're told by mom and dad, listen to your teachers. They're the authority. They know what's right. They know what's good. And then they release them into the wild and put their kids in the school and go off to do whatever they're going to do. And then the school has taught them for 12 or 13 years that government is the answer to every question. That if there's a problem, you should turn to government for those solutions. You shouldn't look at yourself in the mirror and say, how do I solve this? You should go, government should solve this. And if you feel that there's a problem or an inequity or injustice, you should look to the government to solve the problems. And so government is the solution to every question or every problem. And is it shocking that when these people grow up, they go and they become part of this and they say, well, we need more government to fix whatever the problem is, not realizing that government is the freaking problem.
Sometimes. Yeah, right. Sometimes. There's not all government's a problem, Mike. I'll be fair about it. Look, things like having police, right? When you got bad guys, you're going to want police that are going to go out and do that dirty work. Firefighters, got it. Military, other foreign nations to protect us and make sure we're strong enough to not be invaded, etc. Got it. There are some functions that government does that we have agreed are okay, and collectively we're going to pay for it, right? And that's fine. But government, a long time ago, my friend, expanded way beyond what I think the founders of this nation and individual states ever dreamed could possibly happen. Government is cradle to grave. It is invasive in every part of our life. It has gone wildly expensive, spending money we don't have. And I don't see an end in sight to that. When you're 31 trillion plus in debt and counting quickly, when we give away hundreds of billions of dollars every year to other nations, when we can't even afford what's happening in our own.
Well, and let me make this point now that you brought that up, because you're right. Some of the basic functions of government include public safety and defense. But we can look at the problems with police departments. We can look at the problems with, policing and the abuse of civil rights, the fact that people turn a blind eye, that good cops allow bad cops to continue. That's a continual problem, the abuse of authority there. Firefighters, we could talk about the, exorbitant benefits and things like that, things that they want. And I dealt with a firefighter committee in Fairbanks. There's some problems there. And then, of course, defense. All we have to talk about is the $600 hammer and the $1,000 toilet seat to know that defense, while extremely important to the country and to the citizenry, is obviously also rife for abuse. This is the problem. We keep looking to these things and say we need them, but we can't fix them. We don't want, or I guess the answer in the police, well, let's just defund them. That's not the answer either. The answer
isn't about. That's not about the cost of the funding. Is about the social justice. That is
exactly. So, the problem is that government is fundamentally broken in so many ways, yet it has gained its own inertia, and we can't really. We're trying to put the brakes on it. We're trying to fix it. But it is a monumental task in so many ways. And it's exacerbated by the fact that we keep sending our kids back to school and they keep coming back out parroting the answer that government is the answer.
So let me ask you a question, Mike. Is it really the government that's bad, or is it the people in the government that's bad?
Well, government is made up of people, right? That's always been the argument that always killed me, is that, people are bad and they really can't take care of themselves. So what we need to do is create a government but government's made up of people. Well, yes, but the right kind of people, we need
the right kind of people don't necessarily percolate there. And my point of saying that, you remember one of our founding fathers said something to the effect of, I believe it was George Washington. Don't quote me if I'm wrong. Somebody will, of course, say it in the chat room. But I believe it was George Washington that said that this experiment only works with a moral and just people. And that's not the exact quote. I'm paraphrasing what I remember of it. But, Mike, if you don't have a moral and just people anymore, if you have a culture that is rapidly devolving, which ours is, what do you think is going to happen with those very people that go into government? What do you think is going to happen with the shootings that are taking place? We talk about this all the time. That is just one small microcosm of it, but it does show the bigger picture. We all grew up, most of the people in this chat room on your program, a time when pickup trucks could have a rifle or shotgun in the school parking lot all day. Nobody stole the gun. Nobody took the gun. Nobody did anything bad with the gun. We used to march through school with our rifles that were functional rifles to go to the shooting range that was in the high school. Never once did we have a shooting. I don't even remember that back in the 80s growing up. It's not the weapons, Mike. It's not the government. It's not the structure. It's the people in the devolving culture. And those people go from the education system, a devolving culture, into government. And you think this is a surprise that we have an unethical and immoral government, people doing illegal stuff all over the place, the things you're talking about? Of course. But it goes back to those founding principles. If you don't have a just and moral culture, you're going to get a government that is not just and moral, brother. And look where we are today. What you're talking about is much more base to me than, just some bad people. It's a much bigger problem. I don't know what else to say to that.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's a huge problem. It's a huge problem. I don't know what to say. It was John Adams, by the way. All right.
There's always a critic, Mike.
It's me. It's fine. It wasn't criticizing.
Make a good point, and if I get the wrong one, they're just going to say, "Oh," then they're going to focus on that as opposed to the concept behind it.
No, that was me, not them. That was me saying it, just so that you know, I wasn't criticizing you, because you're right. It was John Adams that he said our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to the government of any other. And it's the truth. If we have no more,
happy that without a full cup of coffee, I remember the concept behind it, if not the exact quote.
Exactly.
Who said it. Hey,
we got to paraphrase it in today's
product of government schooling right here, pal. At least I remembered the basics.
Exactly. Mike Shower is our guest. We're up against the break, and we're going to talk about the governor in the next segment and his new proposal, and why we may be, again, not surprised, but more disappointed than we should be. We're going to be back. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. State Senator Mike Shower is our guest. Back with more right after this.
If you missed the show, you can listen to it on your time with Dukes On Demand. Oh, and it's free. Like America used to be. Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Okay, Mike Shower, our guest in the program this morning. Welcome to NPR.
Just purposely pulling yourself down back off the ledge. Is that what you're doing?
Oh God, man. I just tell you, you know, I just look at this and sometimes I just wonder, well, I mean, it's kind of that idea of I want to keep fighting on these issues, but it's like, for example, with the issue, you know, you got to pick your battles. And then the issue with education is, why would you leave your kids in school while you're fighting out the battles of what's going on in school? You know, it's a battlefield, right? I mean, this is what I'm trying to tell people. Well, my kids are in school and they're seeing all this stuff and I need to make a change and I need to do all this stuff. Well, the first thing you need to do is you need to pull your kids out of school while you fight this battle. Because again, it's like you plonk them right down in the middle of the no man's land with the Germans on one side and the French on the other. What do you think is going to happen to them? They're going to get riddled full of bullets, proverbial bullets. You might just pull them out and then you can fight this battle, or not. I mean, you could pull them out and just stop fighting the battle and you know, if 40 or 50% of the parents just decided that their children were more important than the government-run babysitting system, that maybe there would be some fundamental changes out there. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
You're not wrong, Mike. I mean, you're right about the numbers. I mean, I don't even think it'd take that much to force the NEA and the school industry to have to make significant changes, right? I mean, what is it always? No bucks, no Buck Rogers, right? What happens to companies when they go woke, right? Look at Budweiser, $6 billion plus in profit, I think, and share costs they've lost in the last, few weeks since their little, hiccup, so-called, to screw over the very people, the rednecks that are NFL and NASCAR, to just basically poke at those guys and go, we're going to do this. And, if that person, that PR lady, whatever that was doing that still has her job, they're freaking idiots. Lose $6 billion of shareholder stuff because of your little woke idea. I mean, I got to think the shareholders and the board are going, see ya. If not, you've lost your minds too. But my point is that funding matters, right? And it wouldn't take 40 or 50% of kids leaving the school to have that impact. It would be significant at probably 10 or 15%, really. I mean, to do that. And Michelle was making the point as we're talking this morning, as the music was playing, is that not every parent can do it. I get it. There are single parents. There are those that are struggling, that don't have the option. There are parents that don't have the temperament for it, and it probably wouldn't be great. Then that's a tough problem for some people. I get it. Some, if you have 2-parent families, Michelle did it, and we sucked up the loss of income because the kids were more important. And so, and there are probably some parents, that just, they'll survive. I did, right? So they'll survive. They'll be fine. Well, again, Mike, go back to when we were growing up, probably the average age in the program, it wasn't the same as it is today. It's changed.
Right.
It's a different battleground. So
it definitely is fundamentally changed. Boy, do you ever get tired of being wrong, Harold? The schools are not that bad. He says, get your head out of the sewers. Well, I mean, by every metric available, the schools are that bad. When you're 48th and 49th and 50th in every scholastic achievement, and instead of learning reading, writing, and arithmetic, and basically the love of learning, you're being indoctrinated on sexual orientation and gender stuff and CRT and all the other bull stuff that's going on out there. Yeah, they are that bad. I mean, I don't know how you like being wrong so much, but yeah, it is that bad. It is that bad, my friends. And again,
and Mike, just to make a point to that, if somebody like him was saying that, hey, some individual schools are better than others, that's true. there are some schools and some school districts that are performing at a better level. We can continue on the radio program. I'll just wait because that's the ding.
That's the ding. I always move it a little bit
Hey,
ahead for you. Well, I always move it a little bit ahead for you because I know you don't necessarily slow down. So I had
Well,
an
you're talking more than me today. Come on, that's not fair.
Yeah, it's whose name is on the show, baby. That's all I'm
Oh,
saying.
hey, my name is Michael too. Oh.
Hold the line. Hold the line. Michael Duke Show, Common Sense Radio. Here we go. No, we still had time. Sorry. Here we go.
The Michael Duke Show. Not your daddy. Wait, sorry. Not your daddy? Ooh, not your daddy's talk radio. Huh. Whew. I was scared for a second. Thought we were going down. Here's Michael Dukes and the show.
But I am your daddy. I am the daddy of common sense. That's what it is. Who's a pretty little common sense? Oh, you are. That's right. Daddy loves you. All right, the Michael Duke Show, common sense. Dude, what a weird show today, man. I'm telling you. Mike Showers, our guest here on the program. And we've still been talking about education. You were making a point before I so rudely interrupted you with returning
Hit
to
me with the ding.
I
It
hit
says
you
something about whose name's on the program. I go, well, mine.
Yeah, I know. It's exactly. So you were making a point about public schools because somebody in the chat room made the inane comment that, well, schools aren't that bad. Okay.
I'm on Mar. It's still
I'm
Mar,
on
Mike.
Mar.
And
I
that's
mean-
what I'm trying to be fair because there are some schools in the state that are performing reasonably well. There are that are not bottom, but as when you have to look at the whole picture, because we have to consider the whole picture, right? I can't just go, well, those two schools are great. The rest of them are terrible, but hey, so it's fine. Just throw more money at it. Well, that's not a good answer for what we're looking at, right? Because I'm not dealing with one school district. I'm dealing with 54. And so if you have an aggregate school system where you have absolutely failing schools in some places, then we don't have any metrics at all tied to the performance of throwing that money, which is where we are today. And you have such a poor performing system in the whole. I mean the whole thing, like not whole like a hole in one for golf. I mean as the whole concept behind it. And then they want to throw another $250 million at it with no metrics, nothing tied to say that's going to go to the classroom. If you had an amendment, Mike, that said, hey, that amendment, we're going to go back to 70-30. So this $250 million or whatever the BSA increase would come out of this whole thing, 70% of it is mandated, must go to the classroom, and they got to show us via audit that that's going to be the case. I would be more inclined to look at, okay, well, let's give it a shot and see what happens. I'm not saying I would. I'm just being more inclined to consider it. Right now, the answer is that take that $257 million, $250 million, and just throw it at the same system. No accountability, no metrics, no reporting back to the legislature to tell us how that's going to work. Same system that gave a 4% overall raise to teachers in the last 20 years while we increased funding by a third because they continue to propagate the lie. What's been flat funding? No, it hasn't, Mike. We've increased spending by a third in the last 2 decades for bottom performance. So don't tell me it's going fine because the reality is it's not. There's reasons for that. It's not equal. It's not apples to apples. Some are doing better than others. That's absolutely true. But what I have to look at is we're the ones being asked to fund it. And I'm being asked to fund it with more money with no accountability to how we're going to get there to those metrics they talk about for these great performing schools. You don't do that, Mike. That is not wise. That is not prudent. That is not reasonable for me as a legislator to just throw more money at the problem without knowing how that money is going to be spent, without knowing that it's going to be spent well, or we're going to have some payback for that. So don't ask me to do that because that's not a reasonable position for me to take. It's not a reasonable position for any legislator to take. Right now, those that are pushing for this, Mike, they would have, I've heard one of them sit on the Senate floor and have that's a thinly veiled threat for cuts. When you say accountability, where did I say the word cut? I said, I want to know if I'm going to vote for more money to be spent on the same system. You show me how that's going to improve the scores, improve the outcomes of our kids. Well, there's silence to that, Mike, because they have nothing. They just want to throw money at it for that constituency. That constituency being the teachers and the teachers' unions and the power they hold, and those lobbyists that can come in and then basically throw a ton of money at a campaign. There's one down to Kenai Peninsula. I think that the NEA threw something like $60,000 in the last 3 weeks. Tell me that doesn't throw a campaign. Don't tell me that they don't have power getting involved in this. And then the one that won that election is a teacher involved in the NEA. Oh, that's a surprise. The point being, Mike, is that there's massive power and money behind this. This isn't tied to performance. This isn't tied to them having to come back with accountability and tell us how they're doing. It's like, just give us more money.
Right. No,
that's
and
not a good answer for a legislator. That's not a good way to govern. We have to
35% increase in educational funding in the last 18 years. And yet they tell us, well, no, there hasn't been an increase. You haven't done enough. And if only we had more money, we could make it work. Even though we've seen, as we've continued to fund education at a higher rate, the aptitude and the achievement continues to go down.
Well, if you don't tie accountability to the money, Mike, if you don't tie performance metrics that they have to do better with that money, why do they? They don't have to. There's nothing making them do it. And I'm not necessarily, because this always goes, it's always the answer, right? It's always emotional. Oh, it's for the children. You hate the children. Or it's all about the teachers. This isn't really about them, Mike. They're tied inside the system. I mean, let's be honest for a second. Many of them are behind everything that's happening because they want more benefits and money. I mean, who doesn't, right? But where does this really fall under? If the NEA really supposedly cared about its teachers, then explain to me why it continues to ask for more money, but it's only agreed to what is essentially a 4% pay raise for those teachers during the last 20 years when we increased funding by a third. Shouldn't the teachers have gotten about a third of a pay raise? A 30-ish% pay raise? Didn't happen. Oh, wait a minute, but I thought the NEA has the best interest of the teachers at heart. Well, who gets more money into their coffers when the system gets more money? Oh, the NEA does. So do other unions. Mike's not just an NEA problem. That's a union problem. I see that in the own union I'm a part of, right? They want higher pay because if you get higher pay there, then guess what? Then they get more money in their coffers. Funny how it always seems to go back to money.
Yep.
But the point is, Mike, is it's not about, right now, it's not about metrics or performance or really for the children. This is about just pushing more money into the system to make a constituency happy and show that, oh, we care by just spending more money. I don't agree with that approach, Mike. For me to vote for this, for me to see any kind of increase in funding, I need to see the metrics. I asked a superintendent, what's the best answer? One that's been, giving us a lot of data. And that superintendent said, we have to go back to the 70-30 rule. We have to go back to
70% of the BSA.
70% of our funding goes to the teachers, the kids in the classroom, and not to all the other stuff. And shrink down this massive growth in the support side of building, of infrastructure and buildings and all the support and all the other stuff that's grown by leaps and bounds, while the kids in the classroom, the teachers or in essence, are being kind of left behind.
Yeah. Mike Shower is our guest here on the program this morning. Let's talk a little bit here about where things are going. It was announced yesterday that the governor, apparently antithetically to his promises, where he was not going to put a tax bill out without an advisory vote of the people, is now saying he's going to put his own sales tax bill. I mean, there's already a sales tax bill out, so I'm not sure exactly why he would produce another sales tax bill. We still don't know because he refuses to communicate with the public or the legislature in public. Apparently, he's been having some private meetings, but we just don't know why. But he's going to produce another sales tax, again, completely ignoring the fact that he said he wanted any tax had to have an advisory vote. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I don't know. I mean, there's definitely meetings taking place, Mike. You're hearing about them all over the place right now. So I will say one positive of that is at least the governor and the legislature are communicating back and forth. That hasn't necessarily happened in the past, depending on who's been in what seats in the legislature. So that's a positive move that at least they're talking. Hopefully good things come out of that, not bad things. But the point is, I'm going to, I'll be a fair criticism. Like, me, I'm an equal opportunity offender, as I call myself. So, but that is a good step that they're at least talking, right? So that's it. But I will also say this, the governor has been clear so far to my conversations with him and to what I have seen, that he is proposing, this is my understanding of it, so don't hold, God, people always hold you accountable for what you say, but especially in this place, right? Because I forgot my welcome to all those staffers that have to listen. A good hearty welcome to those this morning for those that have to listen and take every word I say, so it can and will be used against me in the court of the caucus. But hey, whatever, we'll move on past that point. The governor has said very clearly that he was not going to pass anything, or he would use his veto pen if he didn't have the whole comprehensive fiscal package. So I don't know if that's because there's been a couple tax things that have been proposed, like sales tax and others. I think the Ways and Means Committee in the House has put one forward. The governor may be looking at that as part of the package, because you have to have the constitutional protection of the PFD. You have to have the constitutional change in the current spending cap. And then there was some kind of broad-based taxes, I will say, because I know they've talked about S corp taxes, changing the per barrel credit, a sales tax. There's still people that want an income tax. And I go back to Mike, I said, other than maybe a sunset commission or something, part of the fiscal policy group said we have to have reductions to spending too. I don't see that in the package so far anywhere, but so this may be him doing a piece of that package because he doesn't see it or wants it to be different than what's been suggested by the legislature. But I'm only throwing that out because I think the governor is still, to my knowledge, is just looking at it as one piece of it, but has said that if it's just if it's only taxes, he's going to veto it. If it's just one part of it, he's going to veto it. It needs to be the whole thing. And there's legislators and people in leadership in both bodies, primarily the Senate, that are still just pushing one or two things. Then the governor said he's not going to let that go. So I'm going to try to be completely fair about this, that unless, if a tax passed and Mike, the governor was to sign that one thing by itself with no contingent language for anything else, then yeah, I'm going to be disappointed too. Because it's a fiscal policy, but I don't think that's what's going on here. I'm just
my disappointment, Mike, is not necessarily in the fact that there's a discussion on tax, although because again, it part of a whole fiscal plan, I can see that as being a component of it. My disappointment is the fact that the governor was very adamant and very, very clear, and has been for even before re-election, that any tax should go before a vote of the people as an advisory. And there's no discussion on that. I'm sorry.
I mean, if I haven't seen his bill yet, if his bill may have that language in it, I don't know. I haven't seen it, so I don't know.
Well, no, nobody's seen it, but according to multiple sources, he said nothing about an advisory from the people, and it was very evident that he didn't include that caveat in the discussions yesterday. That's, again, maybe he still intends to, maybe. But again, this is my criticism of the governor, is that he is not communicating with the public. Great, he's now talking to the legislature. This governor has had one major failing, in my opinion, and that is he does really well when he's communicated with the public. And he's done that several times and garnered a lot of support from it. And then he just clams up and you don't hear from him for months. Months, the public doesn't hear from him. He should be out there assailing the airwaves, hitting Facebook, social media, doing his little roundtable things that he did for a while that he's not doing anymore. Why are you not telling the public why are you not using those? You've got the bully pulpit. Why aren't you beating the drum on this stuff? Why aren't you directing the legislature and telling them, if you do this, I'm going to drop the hammer on it. Don't do that. Why is he not utilizing these communications channels that he has available to him? And again, he doesn't have to go through the mainstream media, who are not friendly to him. He could go, again, social media and do his own Facebook Lives and YouTube Lives and everything. You got a smartphone, you can do it. Why is he not doing that?
Well, good question. I don't know. I'm not the governor. And I guess next time I talk to him, Mike, and see him, I'll ask that question. I'll say, hey, Mike, some people are asking for you to get back out and be more active on the public airwaves. Maybe he will. I mean, maybe nobody's asked him. I don't know. This is like asking the unknowable, right?
I have asked him. I'll just let you know. I tried to get him on the program consistently for over 3 months. I've given up. I haven't tried to get him on the program in the last 8-9 months, but for 3 consistent months, I tried to get him on the program, and he has not come on. And this is after he said, "Oh, I'd love to come on the program every 6-8 weeks and talk about what's going on." I haven't heard from him in over a year. It's been almost a year and a half, I think, since I've had him on the program.
I don't know. Well, but the next time I see him, Mike, I'll provide that feedback. I'll tell him that, maybe he needs to hear that from a few people and, get back out there and do that. I don't know why, if they have a strategy behind it. I have no idea. So I don't want to comment because I don't want to, step on something that, they're doing something different. I just don't know. I have no idea. I'm able to meet with them every so often and talk about what's going on with the issues. And, he is still talking to the Senate minority, all three of us. So at least there's that. We have something. And I will give him credit that he has invited us to some of the big meetings with the Senate leadership that I think would exclude us at all costs. But he's not excluding the three conservative members of the Senate, at least. So from our perspective, at least we're being included somewhat. So I'm happy about that, because otherwise we could easily be just shoved to the side completely and utterly. But it's good feedback, Mike. I'll pass it to him next time I see him. I don't know. I don't know if they have a strategy, or maybe they're trying to keep things quiet behind closed doors until they have a better read on it. I honestly don't know, because with the legislature the way it is, it's hard to tell with the two bodies, because, which way is this going to go? Because you still have a significant split between the House and the Senate. And I honestly don't know how this is going to play out, because the House just passed the budget and now the Senate has it, and you know how that goes, and blah, blah, blah. So lots of moving pieces, my friend. I don't know.
All right. Break time. We're up against it. We're going to continue here in a minute. Mike Showers, our guest. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. We continue with more right after these messages. Don't go anywhere.
Listened to by more staffers in Juneau than any other show, because their bosses told them to. And after what they just heard, oh man, they're going to be pissed.
You're a bad, bad man.
The Michael Duke Show.
That still cracks me up every time I hear that under commercial. That's so funny, because it's so true. So,
look, I don't know why the governor is being quiet. And I don't mean to be hypercritical. I mean, I don't want to spoil the fact that maybe he won't want to come on because I'm too critical. But if he doesn't get up off his ass and actually start talking to people, it's going to be otherwise, somebody just said in the chat room earlier, the government is Dunleavy is retired in office. I mean, that's kind of what it feels like. I haven't heard the governor say, he came out with the parental rights bill and then disappeared. And now he's come back with this and disappeared. I mean, you got to get the people involved in this. You got to get, again, you've got the bully pulpit. Why are you not pounding on it all the time and telling Alaskans what's going on? Why are you not telling the legislature, if you do X, Y, and maybe he is behind closed doors, but they could put together a whole budget that he could just come down and just redline from one side to the other and say, start again. Or he could tell them ahead of time, if you do that, I'm going to redline it. So don't even think about it. And maybe it would save a special session or something else, out there. I don't know. I watch it from the outside and I'm just thinking, that's not the way to do it.
Well, look, Mike, I'll tell you this. Your points are well taken, that Mike should get back out in the public eye more and use the bully pulpit. I believe in that. I think that's important. That's why I'm still taking grief inside the building, probably taking hits and being a minority, because I'm on the radio and social media and being very open and transparent, and they don't like that. They don't want the spotlight shown into the activities down here. They want to have the party they've had for decades, where they can be down here and do whatever they want, and the press pretty much only tells you what they want, what they want said. But I will tell you at the same time, like I said, to be fair in that, they may have a strat. I'm not going to comment on why Mike's. I have no idea. They may be doing it to work quietly behind closed doors or something first and see where it goes before they come out in public. I don't know. But I will say this, that Mike has been very engaged with the legislature, more than I saw in the previous 4 years. But that previous 4 years was really wonky with some of the personalities in the Senate and the House that was just, dominated by far leftists, and it was, recall, all kinds of other garbage going on. But he has been very active with the legislature so far this year. And maybe part of their strategy is just taking a different approach. trying to work inside the legislature this time and see how it goes with the different body. I mean, Mike, almost half of the House is brand new.
Yep.
Almost half. And there's a fair amount of new senators as well. So maybe they're just looking at a different battle strategy. Like I said, I'm commenting on something I don't know. So I don't want to go far down that path and criticize when I don't know what they're up to or the why. But I can comment very directly on the fact that the governor has been very active in the legislative building, walking around and having meetings and talking to people. And that's a positive. That's a plus. He may not be as loud in the public that everybody wants to see, or they're certainly radio hosts because you like to get them on and all that. But I have seen a lot more activity from them inside the legislative building. And that is, of course, where the bills are going to pass and the budget, et cetera. So that's an important use of time to engage actively with the legislature. Do they need to engage the public and use that? Sure they do. And I agree with that, but they may have a reason why they're not. So I'll just leave that off to the side for now and see what happens over the next few weeks. And maybe if things fall apart, he'll get more loud or something, if it's not going how he prefers. I don't know. So
Jennifer says, I think it's a fair strategy if it is a strategy.
Yeah,
And
I
I
don't
would
know.
agree.
I'm just
I would
kind
agree.
of commenting into the wind here. I honestly don't know. So
No, I mean, again, we'll I guess we'll see. We'll see what happens. The next segment we're going to give to Mike to talk about whatever he wants to talk about, because I bogarted the first part of the show. So it's all good. It's all, I mean, we could continue to talk about education if you want, because I think at this point I'm done playing nice with people who continue to just, I don't know, I can't do what I got to do. Do you love your children? Shut your pie hole and fix it. That's sorry. I'm a little out of patience for that stuff right now. I am not going to be a popular guy by the end of this show. So it's, again, no big deal, but stop
Mike,
sacrificing.
I got a lot of friends. Michelle and I, we got a lot of friends that are teachers. There are plenty of great teachers that are good people. I go back to this isn't really about the teachers per se. This is about the system. It's
No,
about
I mean,
the national stuff. It's about the culture. It's about bowing to, the diversity, equity, inclusion stuff.
come on. Let me be clear. Let me be clear here, Shower. I am not criticizing the teachers as
Listen, dudes.
I'm not criticizing the teachers in general. You are 100% right. It is the system that is fundamentally broken. There are great teachers in there. I'm sure there's great administrators in there who have the
You
children.
see, this is what happens. I have to say that because if I don't, somebody will take that clip and they'll go out there and say, "Oh, Shower hates the teachers and he hates the children." That's what they'll do.
Yeah, of course they will. Of course they will, because it's easy. That's easy. That's the easy
You
straw man
kill
argument.
the messenger. You don't have to kill the message, Mike. You kill the messenger. Right?
Unless they're bulletproof and shoot back. All right. We're going to jump back into it here. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio. Like and share, like and follow. Subscribe and ring the bell. Okay, one final segment of the program this morning. State Senator Mike Shower is our guest. And we are continuing with him. I kind of bogarted a whole bunch of the show at the very beginning of the hour because I was still kind of wrapped up.
It's your program.
I'm now a little calmer. Yes. So I want to give Mike the opportunity to break into anything else that he might have wanted to talk about or expected me to bring up in the beginning of the show, and give him the floor for the final segment here, the final 8-9 minutes of the program. So Mike, how's that? How things going with the election integrity bill? Somebody asked in the chat room, what's going on? What's happening with the judicial stuff? I just free roam, my friend, free roam.
Well, that's two important things that I've been working on that very few others have. So I will give a quick update on that. One, the judicial bill is, of course, dead in the Senate. Clayman chairs judiciary, and he'll never hear the bill. And of course, they gave it 15 committees to make sure it doesn't go anywhere. I think it has 3 or 4, but it will never move in the Senate. I already know that. I got my one courtesy hearing. It's done. I do have a House representative that's moving it. It might have some, ability to move through the House, but it will never move through the Senate. I will tell you this, and I will announce this publicly now, Mike. I said this a couple of days ago to somebody else. I'm going to pivot to an initiative. I think I'm going to look at starting a citizens initiative, and we're going to go down the path of using the legislature that is the citizenry. I think that's going to be the only option we have available to us. So stand by for more on that as we work down that path. Because it's not going to happen in the legislature. It's too controlled and it's too tight at the hip of the judicial branch and folks that, maybe want to be a judge someday. Who knows?
Right.
So there's that. The election bill, I will say, is the one thing that actually has some potential, a bipartisan bill, not unlike what Representative Tuck and I did last year. Almost got it to the finish line. And Senator Kawasaki is actually working with me pretty closely. And he started off with that bill, and he does seem interested in wanting to move it. And he's got the ability to hopefully get it through the coalition this time in the Senate. There are concurrent bills moving through the House that are the exact same bill I had before. And there's a number of House members that are working on it, and I'm talking to them. So if Senator Kawasaki can get a committee substitute of that bipartisan bill that we can all agree to, that kind of gets all, it doesn't have everything the left wants. It doesn't have everything we want on the right side of the spectrum, Mike, but it's got all those, it's got many important things that everybody can agree to: how to clean up the voter rolls, cybersecurity, ballot tracking, those kinds of things that are core tenets that we still need. If we can move that through the Senate, which I think we can, then that will go to the House, work with the House members, and have that bipartisan bill that cleans up some things in the middle that everybody can agree on that will help. Then that's the best we're going to do with the makeup of the body. But I actually see a path forward for that actually moving and getting that done. And I've worked closely with the Lieutenant Governor on the different issues, like I've said before. So there's actually a lot of movement on the election side of stuff, trying to clean things up as best we can based on the diverse makeup of the body from left to right. That's a positive. And then, of course, the budget stuff, which I've virtually given up on the budget. We're going to, put our amendments in on the floor because that's the only voice we have since the coalition took away the voice of our constituents by shoving us into a minority, giving us no minority status, no anything. So we'll fight the battle on the floor. But, the House passed its budget over. I wish they would have held on to it a little longer. I think that's leverage against the old guard that knows how to play the game in the Senate. But, as I predicted before, Mike, the PFD will be small. I don't see votes for a big one. We'll see what happens. It's likely to stay small or get smaller. It came across with, I think, about a $600 million deficit.
Let me just clarify real quick. You said small. So the 2,700 is the one that the House put out. You're expecting it to drop down to the 1,300 that the Senate is?
Yeah. I mean, look, Mike, it's going to go to a conference committee. That conference committee is going to be weighted with the people that don't like the PFD. The people that control finance are going to control that conference committee. Same old people, same old players. And they're generally against the dividends. So what do you think is going to come out of the conference committee? And then you get to, is anybody going to be willing to vote no on that to hold the leverage of shut it all down until we have that battle again? So the House passed a 50-50, basically. That's at 2,700-ish. The Senate, the ones in charge, they want less. So we'll see where it goes. But I told you predicting at the end of this thing, I said 1,000, 1,300, at the beginning of the session. That's the direction it's probably going to go, because you're going to have to get a CBR vote, because they're not going to take it from the ERA. That's where it should come from by law and by statute. That's not what they're going to do. They're going to tie it to a CBR vote and make it painful. They always do this stuff, Mike. It's how they play the game. So, the budget is underfunded right now. And that's without a BSA increase. That's without defined benefits added to it. As I told you a week or two ago, I said several weeks ago, that's billions, $1 billion plus of extra spending where we can end up with this. So I don't know, Mike. Like I said, I've kind of given up on the budget in the sense of, until we get a comprehensive fiscal plan that has that spending cap attached to it that limits this moving forward. I don't know how you solve this problem. We just continue to fight about it every year. It's arbitrary. What do you say? And people ask about the tax too with that. I mean, look, I have said very clearly, if you throw a tax in front of me, I'm not voting for it. I'll never vote for a tax unless and only if it is tied to and contingent upon everything else passing. The constitutionality of the permanent fund dividend and protecting it, that spending cap that we currently have changed, and I see it all balanced out with whatever else would be a part of it. If I see that whole package and it has a tax in it, I might vote for that if it's going to take this stuff off the table and we quit fighting about it. That's the only way I'm voting for any kind of tax, whatever it is. I'll tell you right now, I'm never voting for an income tax. I don't agree with that. And I don't think it's got support to pass. And the governor said he'd veto it. So it's a waste of time anyways, even if for those that support it. So if I see a tax, Mike, that's tied to the comprehensive plan, I'll consider it. If I see a tax by itself standalone, I'll never vote for it. I haven't voted for a single tax, never will. Because I don't want to see a tax. And we can right now, Mike, the focus of this legislature, like I said, is tax and spend money and then find the taxes to pay for more spending. No conversation about cutting or reducing services or reducing the cost of government at all. So why am I going to vote for a tax when there's no accountability to the same money? I would say that for any other program, just like education. No, absolutely not. We are prioritizing the public sector and government over the private sector. And everybody always talks about, we got to diversify the economy. We got to grow the economy. Well, I got news for you, partner. You keep taking money out of the economy via taxes to pay for an ever-growing government. You keep hammering the oil industry, the one thing that's been kind of, growing the state, and you put all your focus into the public sector and taking from the public sector or taking from the private sector for public. How are you going to grow the economy? Who's going to want to come to this state and do business? So, Mike, the equation doesn't work. The thought process that they're doing this doesn't work. They're going to turn this place into a big national park where the only people who are going to have jobs are going to be federal and state employees. That's it.
And the service industries and the businesses that service those folks. That'll be it. Quick question: How many special sessions do you think we're going to have this year?
I don't know. I have heard somebody mention a day or two ago in a meeting that they were, and I think it was a joke, like, hey, maybe we'll have one in October, so it's after hunting season, but before the holidays, and they can't do. I don't know, Mike. I don't think there's great interest in special sessions. I don't know. I have no idea.
All right, final question. Your thoughts on bacon tacos? I just got to know. I mean,
wait, say that again. Did you say bacon?
Bacon tacos. Tacos made with bacon as the shell, eggs as the guts with cheese and tomatoes. You weave the bacon, you get one of those special wavy taco holders, and you cook them in the shape of tacos. And then your thoughts.
I've never heard of such a thing, but it sounds like a little slice of utopia.
Yeah, you just weave the bacon together into a little mat, and then you put it on one of those little metal taco holders, and you stuff it down in and clip the tops, and then you bake it, and it becomes little hard shell bacon taco shells, and you stuff it.
I mean, how utterly impossible is it to say that anything made with bacon can be bad?
No, I mean, I just gotta say. All right. Well, I wanted to try and end on a high note. Now I'm hungry.
Get it on bacon. That's as high as you can get, my friend.
You can't get much higher than bacon. Bacon tacos, making bacon tacos. That's what we're doing. All right. Thank you, Mike Shower, for coming on board. Folks, we're out of time. Tomorrow, based on today's show, I'm not sure what I'm going to talk about tomorrow. I'll be honest. But we got to go. Be kind. Love one another. Live well. The Michael Duke Show. Yeah, so I saw this recipe a few years ago, and I've tried it a couple times. You basically weave strips of bacon together into like this little rectangular sheet, and if you ever bought those metal taco holders, that hold tacos on a plate, which I have a couple of them. You lay it, you press it down into the grooves, into the valleys, and then you cut right across the top of the peaks, and then you cook it, and it turns into this little hard bacon taco shell. And then I could see Michelle's thinking over there.
Shaking her head like, oh, come on.
And then
that sounds good.
Yeah. Oh, no. And then you get like chorizo and scrambled eggs and tomatoes and cheese, and you top it off with a dollop of sour cream, and you've got bacon tacos. It's amazing.
And then when you're done eating that, you go online and make an appointment with your cardiologist for blood work.
Hey, you know what? I'm not here for a long time. I'm here for a good time. That's all I'm saying. But a couple of comments in the chat room. Is Senator Bjorkman working with you on this election bill?
No. He's He was at one meeting with Kawasaki and I, where we were all in there talking about big stuff, but he's never talked to me about it.
Okay. Somebody said apparently he's been saying yes, he's all on board with you on that. Okay. Well,
he'd have to come talk to me about it to say that. He's never stopped by. We've never had a conversation about it. So
okay. Well, there you go. Jennifer says use lettuce as a wrap and put your bacon in it. So much easier. Yeah, but then you got lettuce in your wrap. I mean, who needs that? I mean,
why would you do that?
It's a green vegetable. Why would you? I love lettuce, by the way, but yeah, no. Well, I would just put lettuce on top of my bacon taco, and that would be fine. All right, Senator Shower. Final thoughts, my friend. I got nothing for that. I feel spent at this point. I'm just so agitated by this whole thing.
I don't know, Mike. We'll see in the next month, what happens, but don't expect great things out of it. Keep our fingers crossed the governor will hold the line on individual things and kill them with the veto. And, maybe the best thing at the end of the day is we don't really do much of anything. Sometimes the best answer is nothing from a government.
Well, I mean, that you might not be. Sometimes that's it. Sometimes the doing nothing is the thing. So, Randy, I don't know how you could be more wrong. He says, I don't want a bacon taco nor a deep fried Oreo.
No, the deep fried Oreos, I might be with Randy on that one. But, dude, the bacon taco, that's intriguing.
Deep fried Oreos, though, they're good. They are good, man.
I don't know.
They are good.
I might diverge from me on that one.
All right. Well, I guess we're done. I got nothing else. So I guess we're done. Thank you for coming on, my friend. I appreciate you not sleeping in. And
hey.
I'm a little savage today. I'm just saying. Today
I gotta take it down here and then you gotta dish it out too. Seriously? Come on, man.
Who's your daddy? All right. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it. As always, it's good to talk with you. Are we on for next week?
I believe so, but I may have to adjust some times with you. We'll talk about it early next week. We'll see what works.
Okay. All right. You heard it here first. Maybe.
Maybe possibly. We'll see.
Maybe possibly.
I'll get back to you. I'll have your people call my people.
Yes. Have your people call I don't have any people. See, now you're just ducking me. All right. Thank you, my friend.
That's what we do. We spin.
Give Michelle my love and consternation for having to deal with you. Thank you.
Okay. See you guys, man. Take care.
Have a great day. All right, folks. We are done for today. I can't take any more. Thanks for being part of it. The Michael Duke Show, Common Sense Radio. We'll see you tomorrow. Hug your kids, will you? Today, for me. We'll see you.
We've shed our terrestrial radio skin, and now we are slimy lizard internet people. It's the Michael Duke Show.